That $100 bill in your hand. If someone gave you that same bill in 1971, the year America left the gold standard, it would be worth the equivalent of over $800 today. But if you'd kept that $100 bill in a drawer since 1971, held onto it, protected it, today it would only buy you what $12.45 used to buy. Not because the bill changed, not because anything was stolen from you, but because of one silent, invisible, relentless force that has been working against every dollar you've ever earned, every single day of your life: inflation. Today we're going to follow that dollar. We're going to show you exactly where it went, how it disappeared, and, most importantly, what you can do right now to stop it from taking everything else. Welcome to the Money Facts Lab. Let's start with the basics. Because most people think they understand inflation, but they don't understand the full picture. Inflation is defined as the general increase in prices over time. When inflation is at 3% per year, everything you buy costs 3% more than it did last year. Your rent, your groceries, your gas, your health insurance. But here's what the textbook definition leaves out. Inflation is also a tax. The only tax that requires no legislation, no vote, no public debate. It simply happens, quietly, consistently, every single month. Since the Federal Reserve was created in 1913, the US dollar has lost approximately 95% of its purchasing power. 95%. $100 in 1913 versus over $3,000 of purchasing power in 2025. You would need $3,000 today to buy what $100 bought in 1913. A brand new research report from Truth in Accounting puts it even more starkly. $100 in 1975 is worth only $16.40 in 2025, an 84% decrease in purchasing power in just 50 years. Think about what that means for your parents, your grandparents, anyone who saved money in a savings account, paying 2 or 3% interest while inflation ran higher. Every year they saved, they were quietly getting poorer. And here is the cruelest part of this story. The people who feel inflation the most are the ones who can afford it the least. When a gallon of milk goes from $3 to $4, someone earning $200,000 a year barely notices. Someone earning $30,000 a year, who spends 70% of their income on necessities, feels it in every meal. But standard inflation, the kind measured by the government, is only half the story. Because there is a second form of inflation happening right now in every grocery store in America. And most people have never even heard its name. Picture yourself at the grocery store. You pick up your usual box of Frosted Flakes. Same box, same price. You put it in your cart. What you don't notice is that the box is the same size, but there's less cereal inside. Welcome to shrinkflation. The practice of reducing the amount of product in a package while keeping the price exactly the same. Kellogg's family-size Frosted Flakes shrank from 24 ounces to 21.7 ounces. Same box, same price. But you're paying 40% more per ounce than you were in 2019. And Frosted Flakes is just the beginning. Gatorade. The classic 32-ounce bottle shrank to 28 ounces. Reese's Party Size down from 40 ounces to 35.6 ounces. Cheetos Party Size shrunk from 17.5 ounces to 15, while the price per ounce went from 17 cents to 40 cents. That's a 135% increase in cost per ounce. Toilet paper rolls went from 12 mega rolls to 10. Laundry detergent containers dropped from 100 ounces to 92. Dish soap down from 24 ounces to 21.6. Toothpaste shrank from 6 ounces to 5.4. According to a LendingTree analysis using Walmart's archived pricing data, approximately 1/3 of the most common consumer products tracked have been shrunk since the pandemic. 44% of breakfast foods, 38% of candy items, 27% of snacks. A typical family buying 20 affected products per month is receiving 8 to 12% less product for the same money compared to 2024. Not because prices went up, but because the product quietly got smaller. And companies are not legally required to tell you. The package updates its label with the new weight, often in tiny print, and the price stays the same. The box stays the same size. The shelf looks identical. One brand of powdered drink mix shrank 50% in 2025, from 6 packets to 4, at the same price. Even the PlayStation 5 digital edition was hit. In 2025, Sony quietly downgraded the internal storage from 1 terabyte to 825 gigabytes. No announcement, same price. Shrinkflation is inflation with a disguise, and it's been in your grocery cart for years. So, prices are rising, packages are shrinking, but surely your wages are keeping up, right? That's what we're told every year. Let's look at the actual numbers. Every few months, you might get a raise, 3%, 4%, maybe 5%. And for a moment, it feels like progress. But let's run the numbers, because there's a difference between what your paycheck says and what your paycheck can actually buy. Economists call it the difference between nominal wages and real wages. Nominal is the number on your check. Real is what that number can actually purchase after inflation has done its work. According to Pew Research, after adjusting for inflation, today's average hourly wage has roughly the same purchasing power it did in 1978. 47 years of nominal raises, nearly zero real progress for the median American worker. In dollar terms, the average hourly wage peaked in real terms in January 1973 at $4.03 per hour. In today's purchasing power, that would be equivalent to $23.68. Most Americans are still not earning that in inflation-adjusted terms. The nominal average weekly wage grew from $1,924 to $1,275 between January 2025 and January 2026, an increase of $51. But after adjusting for inflation, the real increase was just $13 a week. $13 per week. That's what your raise actually bought you in purchasing power, after the invisible tax of inflation took its cut. And this is the average. For the lowest income earners, it's worse. According to CNBC analysis of Federal Reserve data, inflation-adjusted wage growth since the pandemic began in 2020 has been close to zero across most common measures. Meanwhile, 53% of Americans say their household income is just barely keeping up with expenses, 32% say they're falling behind, and 65% of those who don't expect their finances to improve in 2026 cite inflation as the primary reason. You're working harder, earning more on paper, and affording less in reality. That is not an accident. That is the system working exactly as designed, just not in your favor. So prices rise, products shrink, real wages stagnate. And underneath all of it, there is one mechanism, one specific event that set all of this in motion. And it happened on a Sunday night in 1971. To understand why your money is worth less than you think, you have to go back to August 15, 1971.
That Sunday night, President Richard Nixon appeared on national television and announced that the United States would no longer allow foreign governments to convert their dollars into gold. The gold standard, the system that had anchored the dollar's value since 1944, was over.
$1 in 1971, $8.03 in purchasing power needed today, 703% cumulative inflation since Nixon Shock. BLS data. Before 1971, the number of dollars in circulation was limited by the amount of gold in Fort Knox. Printing more money meant having more gold to back it. The system created a natural brake on inflation. After 1971, that brake was gone. The dollar became what economists call a fiat currency. Its value rested entirely on the trust and confidence of the people who used it, and on the discipline of the government that issued it. Between 1971 and 2026, the dollar has lost over 87% of its purchasing power. $1 in 1971 requires $8.03 today to buy the same thing. Gas cost 35 cents per gallon in 1970. A new car averaged $3,700. A year of college tuition, room and board at a public university was $1,500. Healthcare cost $297 per person per year. Today, gas averages over $3.50 per gallon. New cars cost over $50,000. Public university runs over $30,000 per year. Healthcare costs over $14,000 per person annually. These are not just price increases. These are the compounded effects of 54 years of a currency losing its anchor, and a government that has consistently spent more than it collected, funding the difference by creating new money. And here's the part that almost nobody talks about. When new money is created, it doesn't affect everyone equally. The people and institutions who receive the new money first, governments, banks, large corporations, benefit before prices adjust. By the time that money reaches ordinary workers and savers, prices have already risen. The purchasing power has already been distributed upward. Economists call this the Cantillon Effect, and it is one of the primary reasons the wealth gap between the top 1% and everyone else has widened dramatically since 1971. So now we know the problem. The invisible tax, the shrinking packages, the stagnant real wages, the monetary system with no anchor. What do we actually do about it? Let me be direct with you. Inflation is not going away. Shrinkflation is not going away. The gap between nominal wages and real purchasing power is not going away. Not without a fundamental restructuring of the monetary system that no government is currently proposing. So the question isn't how to stop inflation. The question is, how do you make sure inflation is working on your assets, not against them? And the answer has been the same for decades. You have to own things, not just earn. Own. Money sitting in a savings account earning 2% while inflation runs at 3% is losing 1% of its real value every single year. It feels safe. The number goes up, but the purchasing power goes down. The U.S. stock market has historically returned an average of approximately 10% per year over long periods, or roughly 7% after inflation. That means a diversified investment in the broad market has historically beaten inflation by 7 percentage points annually. Real estate has historically appreciated at a rate that outpaces inflation in most markets. Commodities, gold, oil, raw materials, tend to rise in price alongside inflation. Treasury inflation-protected securities, known as TIPS, are government bonds specifically designed to rise with the Consumer Price Index. The wealthy understand this instinctively. They hold assets, stocks, real estate, businesses, commodities. Their wealth inflates with inflation. The rest hold cash and watch it shrink. But here is the most important thing I want to leave you with today. You do not need to be wealthy to start owning assets. You do not need a financial advisor or a large initial investment. Index funds, which allow ordinary people to own a tiny piece of hundreds of the largest companies in the world, can be purchased for as little as $1 through most major brokerages. As NerdWallet's inflation calculator illustrates, $5 invested in 2000 at a 6% average annual return, a conservative assumption, would be worth nearly $20 today. The same $5 kept in cash would buy you 1/4 of a movie ticket. Inflation is a force. Like gravity, you can't stop it, but you can use it. Pilots don't fight gravity. They use lift to work with it. Investors don't fight inflation. They use assets to ride it. Let's bring it all together. The dollar in your pocket has lost 87% of its purchasing power since 1971. The products in your grocery cart are getting smaller while the prices stay the same. Your nominal wage goes up every few years, but your real wage, the one measured in what you can actually buy, has barely moved in nearly 50 years. And a decision made on a Sunday night over 50 years ago set all of this in motion by removing the last anchor that limited how much new money could be created. None of this is secret. All of this is documented, but almost none of it is taught in school. Because here is the uncomfortable truth. A population that understands how inflation works, how purchasing power erodes, how the gap between nominal and real wages is managed, is a population that asks very different questions of its governments and its banks, and the system, in every country, under every government of every political orientation, would rather you focus on the number going up on your paycheck than on what that number actually buys. Now you know the difference. So here is your action step, and I want you to take it this week, not someday. Calculate your real wage. Take what you earned 5 years ago. Use a free inflation calculator. There are several linked in the description, and adjust it to today's dollars. Then compare it to what you earn now. If the real number is lower or the same, you have not received a raise in purchasing power. You have received an illusion. Then, take whatever amount you are currently keeping in a savings account earning less than inflation and research one inflation-beating option. 1. An index fund, an I bond, a REIT, just one. Start there. The money in your pocket is worth less than you think. But it doesn't have to stay that way. I'm your host at the Money Facts Lab. Subscribe for more episodes that give you the facts they forgot to teach you. Leave a comment. Has your real wage gone up or down in the last 5 years? I read every single one. I'll see you in the next one.